Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me this week for another episode of Singing Tips. I'm Benita Charles, New York vocalist, and this week I'm here at the Highline Park in New York City. It's a gorgeous park. It's an old railroad station and train tracks that's converted into a park. It's really nice. They have wildflowers everywhere, trees, and you can just walk down from 14th Street to 34th Street and just walk down the path. There's places for you to sit. They have restaurants, and there's nice greenery. And I'm right here in the shade, so it's so nice. So yes, I'm here again for another episode of Singing Tips. Thank you so much for joining me. I see I have one person join. I can't see who it is, but thank you so much for joining. And so I'm here again for another episode of Singing Tips. We've had, believe it or not, we are on tip number 17. Can you believe we've had 17 tips? And these tips that I'm sharing with you now is all in a series on your performance. So the first 10 tips, we talked about your talent. And the next section, which is your performance. So all the tips that we've been talking about for the past few weeks is singing in front of an audience. Oh, hi, Stacy. Thanks so much for joining. Singing Tips this week. It's me, Benita Charles. You know who I am. But I just want to welcome you and say thank you for joining me. I'm in New York City, a beautiful day, and the Highline Park. It's a converted railroad station and tracks into a beautiful park. There's greenery everywhere. There's wildflowers, and it's so nice. People are just walking and taking in the nature, and it's awesome. So if you're new to Singing Tips, every week I give singers, beginner singers, hi, how are you? I give beginner singers tips on how to become a professional singer. So the section that we're in now is performance. So everything we've talked about from tip number 11 through now has all been about performance. Tip number 11 was for you to sing in front of an audience, because we talked about your talent. We talked about what you need to do to prepare. So now the time is right for you to sing in front of an audience. Tip number 12 was to project your voice when you sing. Tip number 13 was how to handle technical difficulties on stage. Tip number 14, we talked about singing with live musicians versus using performance tracks. Tip number 15 was engage your audience. And last week's tip was how to stay motivated when the going gets tough. So this week we're talking about every equipment that every singer should have. So I would say the number one thing as a singer you should have is a microphone. Now when you do your gigs, a lot of times they don't supply that for you, and you need your microphone in order to really sing and for your voice to be heard. So you don't want to take a chance that the place that hired you, or the people that hired you, don't have a mic. So every singer has to have their own mic, and it's one of the best investments that you'll ever make. Now I have a Shure mic. It's a SM48, but there's so many different types of mics on the market. But Shure is a brand that they specialize in vocal performance mics. So that's a good place to start. You can Google, and you might find another brand you may want, but I recommend Shure. For every singer, you have to have your own mic. Now the second thing I would say, that once you start gigging, that you may invest in a portable PA system. Because let's say you have a gig at a coffee house or a restaurant. A lot of times they don't have PAs for you to sing, to plug in for you to sing. So I have a rolling cube, and it's portable. It actually is also battery operated. So if there's no electrical power or you can't access the cord, you can put the batteries in, and I plug in my vocal mic, my guitarist plugs in, and it gives a wonderful sound. It fills the room, and especially a small room. It's perfect. So that's something down the line, if you don't have the money now, that's something down the line that you may want to invest in. Also, I would say a video camera, because it's good to record yourself when you perform, especially when you're just starting out, because that's a good lesson tool. That's a good tool that you can use to review, and you can see what you need to work on. So that's a great thing to do. And also, like, if you can invest in maybe an audio, if you don't want to do the video, do an audio, a little audio like recorder. One recommendation that I heard was called Zoom. They specialize in audio equipment, and it sounds very professional. That's something you can use. You can upload snippets on SoundCloud, and you can maybe even just have like live recordings. You can even sell those live recordings. So it's something good to have. Oh, thanks for the hearts, everyone. Oh wow, that's so cool. Wow, I love it. So another thing that I wanted to mention is if you're singing with a band, especially for a singer, to invest in some percussion equipment. Like, I have these castanets, but a tambourine, because sometimes when you're performing, you can add if they don't have a percussionist with the band, you can add that element, and it gives you something to do, especially if you're not singing, you're on stage. You can add some percussion to the music, and that's an excellent thing for a vocalist. I've seen a lot of vocalists do that, and I think it's really cool, and I'm sure the band appreciates it. Oh, thank you so much for the heart. Let's see, did I miss anything? But those are I would say, another thing I want to mention is you should invest in, like, it's called an iClip, or it's like a clip that you put your iPad on and you clip it to the mic stand, because for your lyrics, like, let's say you have 50 songs you got to know, or you're on a gig, you're on a corporate gig, and you got hundreds of songs that you have to do. It's kind of hard to remember everything. So you have your lyrics on your iPad and save the lyrics. Don't count on going online to get the lyrics at the gig, because sometimes some places the Wi-Fi is not available, or the signal is not good. So you want to make sure the lyrics are already on your iPad, and then you can just, hi Tim, thanks for joining. You could just clip that on your mic stand, and then you could peek at your lyrics, and it doesn't take away from the performance. So that's such a wonderful, wonderful thing to do. So that's my recommendation for every singer. You have your professional mic. Every singer needs their own mic and a mic cord. So this one is corded, but you can get a cordless mic. Invest in some percussion instruments, and this way, if you're not singing and you're on stage, it gives you something to do, and it adds to the band. Get an iClip for your lyrics, and that way you can peek at your lyrics, and it doesn't take away from the aesthetics, and it doesn't take away from your performance. Because I want to say, I know back in the days we used to have the lyric books, and it was like a notebook and had all the lyrics. But I was on a gig one time where it was an outdoor gig, and as the night rolled in, there was no light. So let's just say I didn't know the lyrics. I would have been in trouble. I mean, it just so happened I knew the songs. I just kind of needed to peek at the lyrics. But that was a lesson for me. That gig really taught me, always try to memorize if at all possible. If not, have the lyrics downloaded already on your iPad. Don't rely on trying to go online at the gig. I've seen artists do that. They're at the gig, they're in front of the audience, and they're trying to access the lyrics, and then it just spins. There's no reception or whatever, and they're just like so you don't want that. But yeah, so that's my recommendation for every singer. I hope that you find these tips helpful. It really gives me a lot of inspiration, just helping you, knowing I'm helping someone out there. But I would like to say one thing. Now, you've heard of the saying that, what is luck? Luck is opportunity plus preparation. So that's what we're doing here at Singing Tips. We are preparing you for your opportunities. The worst thing in the world is for you to have an opportunity come your way and you're not ready. It's happened to me before. It's not a great feeling, and it's a good lesson. So learn from my experience. Always be prepared. So that's what we're doing here with Singing Tips. We are preparing you to be a professional singer out in the world. When I get done with you in Singing Tips, you're going to be so great. You're going to be so ready. They're going to be asking, begging you to perform. So that's what we're doing. We're preparing you for your opportunities. So I would like to sing a little something for you, because we are talking about singing in front of an audience. So this is an original song. It's called Happy. It's from my Moments in Love CD. It's available on CD Baby and iTunes, but this is called Happy. So this is dedicated to you. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. So this is called Happy. I came into work today with a smile on my face, and everyone's asking me, why am I so happy? I don't really know just what to say. I don't really know how to explain the way I feel, yeah. You see, I went home yesterday after a very long, hard day, and then he made love to me almost immediately. He took me to the moon and to the stars, and there, up to there and back to Mars, never coming down. He makes me happy. He's got all the love I need. He satisfies me. He's got everything I need. He took me to the moon and to the stars, and there, up to there and back to Mars, never coming down. Thank you so much. I'm so happy you joined me for another episode of Singing Tips. This is Benita Charles. I'm here in New York City at the beautiful Highline Park. It's a wonderful park that's converted. It was a former railroad tracks and station, and it's converted to a park. It's a beautiful day today. I hope you're having a great weekend. You can always connect with me on Instagram at BCM Sings. If you click on the bio, it links to all of the singing tips from previous episodes. Thanks for the hearts. I really appreciate it. So I come every week giving beginner singers singing tips. Then just in case you're not exactly sure what I'm doing. So Singing Tips is a weekly show dedicated to beginner singers to help them become professional. The idea came from when I was looking at the movie Get On Up. I'm going to make this movie popular again. I'm going to make it famous because that was such a great movie. It was a James Brown story. The actor in the movie should have gotten an Oscar. I'm going to get his name the next time I'm going to announce it. So please see that movie if you haven't seen it. But there was a scene in the movie where James Brown said that this is show business. There's a show part and there's a business part. And his manager tried to tell him, he said, you don't worry about the business part, you just focus on the show. And James Brown said, no. I'm going to do the show and the business. And that's what made him so brilliant. He was the hardest, they said he was the hardest working man in show business. He was one of the greatest entertainers, and it's true because he had the show part and he had the business part. So right now we are focused on the show part. We started with the talent. We're going into the performance. We're going to go into other aspects later on. And then we're going to move into the business part because that's one of the most almost pretty much more important. Now you do need the talent, you do need to be good, but you also need a good business head. So we're gonna work on that. Now, as far as me, I've really focused on the talent part all these years. You know, I started singing as a child in church. My first solo was 12 years old, and I've been singing ever since. But the business part has always been something I've shied away from, but not anymore. We're taking this journey together, and we're going to do the business part together. And together, we are going to take the music business by storm. So that's the whole idea behind Singing Tips. So I hope that you can join me again for another episode of Singing Tips. It's been great. I hope this is helpful. And for all the, you know, I do have a lot of, I do realize I have a lot of non-singers on here. So I would like to say that whatever you want to do in life, just prepare yourself. Just work for it, because it's there, and it's the opportunity is going to come your way, but you want to be ready. So that's what we're doing here in Singing Tips, and I want to encourage you, whatever you want to do in your life, just get ready, work for it, stay determined, stay focused, and it will come. So that's going to do it for me. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and thank you for joining me again for Singing Tips. I hope it helps somebody. That's my dream, that someone is encouraged and motivated by these singing tips. So helping you helps me. So thanks so much, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Take care.